Shalom, 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 Yasha Allah. This your boy, brother Shamuel Allah, back at you with another quick edifying video. Today's lesson is going to be called Beware. All right, beware. All right, first and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Call Halal Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. That's all praises to the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahawah, and His only begotten Son's name, who you ignorantly called Jesus, whose name is Yahawashi. All right, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Rawchaa Qadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who have ruled well through the Spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days, and has pushed this gospel and this truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom. Another mighty shalom to all you Akim out there laboring on the highways and on the hedges and on the unicorn, which is this internet, pushing this 100% doctrine, this 100% truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom to you all as well. All right. Like I said, today's lesson is going to be called Beware. All right. And I came across this article, right? This is from the New York Post, right? But this is, beware, because the narrative is being pushed. All right. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Right. I came across the article, but the article, I see that this says disturbing videos shows taxpayer funded babysitter brutally beaten New York City tots with a belt, and horrified family demands answers. Right. But the key thing that got me looking right at it, because when I saw the little the little thumbnail, right, and I'm gonna show you what I caught, right. Let me just go to the beginning of it. Salakia. Right. Well, this is it right here, right. And if you see at the bottom, you see a border of blue, right, fringes on, right, have fringes on. All right. So this lady, right, says babysitter repeatedly walloping 3 little kids with a belt and donning a creepy Santa Claus costume, right? But this is from the Bronx, right? Bronx or whatever, or this might have been Brooklyn. I forgot, but it's New York, right? In general. But the thing that caught my eye about it was, you see the border of blue with the fringes. All right, and this is why, brothers is constantly talking about, being careful, wearing your fringes, right? Because we see this narrative being pushed. Okay, so you see this lady here, right? And this article is about, a New York funded program, whatever it is, and this person is beating the children, right? But what they put into this article, right? And you see the border fringes, right? Like, I'm not gonna go, into the article, right? But you see, right? Doesn't matter, right? With the head wrap and the fringes, right? And this is some pictures of her, right? She's got on a Santa Claus suit, but she got on, got the head wrap on, right? But she's got on the border of blue fringes. Okay, and this is why we keep telling, brothers, hey, be careful. You got to be circumspect, right, in these days. Okay, and you see it, right? Because that's the thing, man. All Israel is not Israel, man, right? And then this is one of the last pictures they had, right? Happy Sabbath, Israel. Safe travels, right? You see, they got on the head wrap. Hey, I can only speculate, right? But I see the purple, right? But I'm not saying anything. But like I say, you see the fringes, all right? And this is why, telling folks, you got to be careful with these fringes, because they're setting this narrative. See, this is a whole article about, this girl who was supposed to be a babysitter, and she, was whooping the children, and it was caught on camera. Right, but you see that they put these pictures in here, right, and they have her with the skirt with the fringes on, right? They got her with the post talking about Happy Sabbath, All right. So they're pushing this narrative. All right. And we can't be ignorant to that. All right. Matter of fact, I just want to get a couple of scriptures, right? But this is why, brothers keep talking about that, man, and harping on that. All right. Because it's going to come a time. All right. Right. And people want to walk around with your fringes on, your t-shirt fringes and this, that, and the other. Right. You're setting yourself up a target, but you're also setting it up for, persecution and things that are going to come. Okay. Let's get this real quick. This is, 2 Corinthians. Let's get that real quick. 2 Corinthians 2 and verse number 11. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. All right. We're not ignorant to that. We're not ignorant to what's going on. All right. We're not ignorant. Right. And Yahawashi told us, man, what is that in Matthew? Right. We got to understand walking, in this place, it says, behold, right, coming persecutions. It says, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Okay, because there's so many different things that they have, that they're going to be using to try to push. You got the AI, right? You have this updated, what is that, VOE3, whatever, that, where, a lot of this AI stuff looks like it's real, like it's actually happening. Okay. Right. And what more do you have this article, right? It has nothing to do with it. When I was looking through it, I didn't see anything specifically that talked about that, but you see, what that sister was wearing. Okay. And that's just setting up the narrative, and it's going to push, more of that persecution on our people. All right. So that's why, behold, it says, Matthew chapter 10, verse 16, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Right. And this is what we're trying to, show, brother. Hey, you gotta be wise as a serpent. You gotta move wisely in this thing. All right. You gotta move very wise in this, because, what does it say? What's that? 1 Peter 5 and verse number 8. Right? It says, be sober and be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. All right? And the brother had did a lesson I was watching earlier, and it was talking about how, they're using facial recognition to, catch those escapees, right, who escaped from the Louisiana prison or whatever. They're using that facial recognition. All right, so they're using this technology. Esau is using his technology, right? Just as this, I believe it was in the article, the mother or the mother-in-law or whoever, watched the video and saw this lady doing that, right? And of course they recorded it, right? But then what do you see, right? You see, the woman's got on border of blue and fringes on. All right, this is why we have to be wise. All right, when we're walking amongst wolves. All right, because they're just looking to any opportunity, all right, to capture, to pounce. Okay. So it says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. All right. And that's why, the scriptures talk about, what is that? Ephesians. Right? Ephesians chapter 5, and let's go to verse number 15. It says, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. All right, wise what? Wise as a serpent, man. You gotta, watch your movements and your different things. All right, because they're setting up this agenda. They're preparing the narrative, right, to come down. It says Ephesians chapter 5 verse 15. It says, "See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise." It says, "Redeeming the time, because the days are evil." Okay, the days are evil. All right, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, man. Right, and he's waiting for his time to kind of pounce on you. Right, and you give him ammunition when you do these things. All right, that's why you have to move wisely in this world, man. You know, you have to move wisely in this world. You know, and I remember, just even before, you know, we came into the Nas with GMS. You know, brothers used to have on their little t-shirt fringes and this, that, and the other. And brothers, you had brothers say, "Oh man, you got to be careful, man, because you happy that you know who you are, you proud about it, and this, that, and the other, but you're making yourself a target too, and that's why you got to be wise in this thing, right, and walk circumspectly, right." And now it's like you have understanding, right, when you see these type of things, right, and when I saw that article, that was the first thing that kind of went into my mind. It wasn't just the whole the article, but it was just seeing that, and then seeing the post, happy Sabbath Israel, like, right. So we know that this narrative and this agenda is getting pushed, okay, because it's coming to time, just as in the book of Second Maccabees, right, 6 in verse number 6, it says, Second Maccabees chapter 6 verse 6, it says, "Neither was it lawful for a man to keep the Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew." Okay, and this is what's going to come on, right? Because they're going to push that agenda. Look, you see, they beat children, they do this, they do that. I seen the other another video. It was a brother had posted, one of the occupants had posted, it was of another brother who did a video, and you had a dude, a Jake, man, right? He had the dope fiend lean, and he had on fringes, man, right? So we see this narrative, right? And those who are wise and who are circumspect, they're watching that, right? And learning how to move in this world, man. Okay, because this is what's going on. All right, and we see the agendas that they're pushing. Okay, we see the agendas that they're pushing. What is it? In the book of Second Esdras, right? Second Esdras 16, and let's go to verse number 70. Right? It says, "For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi." Right? It says, "They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi." Right? And what's the easiest way to kind of tell, to spot, right? Is to see that border of blue in those fringes. Right? And if you're out there every day walking and doing that, right? And then things happen, right? And stuff is caught up and the narrative is being placed, man. That's why we say, beware, man. Right? You got to be aware and you got to be circumspect and be wise out here, right? In the valley of the shadow of death, man. You got to be wise in movement, okay? So, just like I said, just seeing this and seeing what's happened, it just puts more emphasis, and it's an example of why you got to be circumspect about wearing your fringes out everywhere. Okay, so I just want to do this quick lesson. Like I said, Lord's will, this was edifying, right? And ultimately, we understand, we keep the laws, right? But we see that wearing fringes doesn't mean that you actually adhering and doing what you're supposed to be doing. All right, we do it to the best of our ability. All right, but we know, hey, that's why we need Yahawashi to return. Okay, but understanding that too, you gotta make sure you're moving wisely. Okay, because this devil is looking. He's trying to see who he can devour. Right, And if you stand out like a sore thumb, guess what? He's coming and pouncing on you. All right, you got to move circumspectly in this thing. Okay, so I just wanted to do this quick lesson. Like I said, Lord's will, this is edifying, right? But with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Kohola Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rawchaa, Qadash. Peace and blessings to the elect of the 12 tribes scattered abroad. A mighty shalom, right? To the 144,000 men. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone, who have ruled well through the Spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days, right? Another mighty shalom to the rest of the elect out there, man. Stay diligent, stay focused. Hey, be not ignorant, okay? Be not ignorant and be wise, right? Be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. Move circumspectly, all right? Because guess what? You know, these devils are waiting for you to slip up so they can say, aha, see? Yep, and look what they got on, right? So be wise with your movements. All right, put your trust and your faith in Yahawah by Hashem Yahawashi. All right, by Hashem or Qadash at the end of the day. All right, like the scriptures say, let this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding be your stability in these times. Okay, understand. All right, beware. All right, because the narrative is being set. All right, and with that, I'll say shalom.